Hey, ioStux here. I haven't uploaded my coaching sessions in quite a while because I've been busy, but now that I'm fully focusing on my private coaching, I figured it's time to upload another one. Keep in mind that, as with all of these sessions that I upload, the first half of the session is edited out because I usually spend that time to talk about some more specific stuff with the coachee that isn't really all that useful to anyone but him. If you want your own session, you can check out the links in the description, and I also invite you to join the Discord community in case you have any questions. The hashtag #AskStuxAnything channel is now free and available to everyone who joins it, so even if you don't want to get a session, join the Discord, ask your questions, and I'm going to try to help you out.
You're the with or outside, by the way.
The sound doesn't really matter too much. I can hear the sound, but again, it's not super relevant. Like, I listen to the comms, they're kind of bad anyways, like, not much really happens. So I wouldn't really worry too much about it. Okay.
Go touch him, NEV.
Okay. So first things first, this is on the new patch, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So with the new patch, previously when you were playing against a Reinhardt as a Mei and you walled him off like this, you didn't. Like, it was kind of difficult because he would usually have his shield, and the only way that you could really force him out is if you could get close to him and freeze him. On this new patch, you don't really have to do this. So the wall that you use here is pretty early, and your team can't really do anything with it because the Reinhardt still has his shield. The only thing that you could do is start moving forward, run into him, and try to freeze him, but that is kind of risky because you would have to run all the way on the point. So when you're playing against something where you know that you can break the shield, so in this case the Reinhardt, just wait a little bit, break the shield first, and once the shield is a little bit lower, that's when you can look to wall him off, because then you can just break the rest of the shield, and you can freeze him, and you can try to actually confirm the kill that way. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go touch him, NEV.
But yeah, again, he has his shield, so nothing really happens, and your wall is kind of wasted. Okay, so now this, for example, is an opportunity where you need to start looking at your cooldown even before it becomes available. So as a Mei, your main responsibility is to use your wall, like, not on cooldown, but you want to use it as soon as you get an opportunity. And again, since this fight has been going for a while, you know that the Reinhardt doesn't really have a lot of shield anymore, which means that now the enemy team is vulnerable. So instead of waiting until you have your wall available and then kind of going, oh, okay, what should I use it for? Even when it's on like 2 seconds away from being available, you can already start thinking about where you want to use it. Because the problem is that you get your wall here, and instead of walling off the Reinhardt, as soon as you get it, you kind of hesitate. You kind of wait around, and that's when your teammates start dying, right? Like, it's very important for you to act fast, because the longer you wait and the slower you play, the more time you give your teammates to feed, and you give the enemy team to punish your mistakes. But yeah, even after your teammate dies, just when your team is kiting back, just drop a wall, because you saw that the Orisa shield just broke. Like, the cooldown of your Mei wall isn't really that long, but you're playing, like, kind of cautious. Like, you're kind of saving it a lot, even if you don't need to. Like, even right here, when the Hanzo's in front of
User entered your
you
channel.
need to be really, really careful. Okay, this ice block is fine, just so that you don't get picked. Why did you cross across the choke here? After you use your ice block, you start walking towards the left. Why?
I don't know, it's like my autopilot thing. I try to go for cover by navigating through walls.
So what do you want to do right now? Like, what can you do?
Try to burn down shield, and when shield is almost down or even down, try to wall the Rhine.
Right. So right now, first of all, okay, so there's multiple reasons why you shouldn't start walking out of the choke towards the left. First of all, you don't have your wall, which means there's no real reason for you to walk out of here. Second, the only thing that you really want to do is break shield and start farming your ultimate. And you can do that from the choke. There's no reason for you to start moving towards the left, because you're only going to shoot the shield anyways. And 3, you already used your ice block, which means that going towards the left and away from your team just exposes you, which is extremely risky. So you don't have wall, you only want to spam shields anyways, and you don't have your ice block, which means that there was no reason for you to play aggressively. Like, you always need to be aware of how you want to play, and Mei is not really like a super aggressive character. It's not like Doomfist where you just want to go in over and over again and be super annoying. It's more like opportunistic, where if you can get a good wall off, or if you can if you have your ultimate, for example, then you can start playing more proactively. But if you don't have those opportunities, you just want to chill in the back and spam right clicks. Because yeah, if the enemy team just landed like one extra headshot on you, you would be dead now. And that would be kind of bad, because you would start wasting a lot of your team's time. Also, another thing you need to be careful about, even if you didn't die here, you still took away your team's, your support's resources. Because you're low HP, your supports need to heal you, which means that during this time, if anyone else on your team is taking damage, your supports can't really help them because they're already busy with you. So there are certain situations where you actually manage to stay alive because your healers pocket you, but then someone else on your team dies because your healers couldn't do anything for them. Okay, you have another wall.
Somehow.
That ult is good.
Orisa low.
See, so right here, why are you holding onto your wall?
I don't know. I didn't see a wall opportunity because it was very far away.
You didn't see a wall opportunity.
I don't know.
So in retrospect, do you think that you could have used your wall somewhere?
I think I could have walled the Orisa because he has already used gold and is all low, but
So you need to kind of shift your mindset about Maywall. So Maywall isn't just a tool that you use to try and wall people off so you can pick them. You also want to use it during fights just to break LOS with people, right? So usually tanks are going to be in the front, and then DPS are going to be behind that, and the supports are going to be behind that. So when you're in a team fight, using your wall just to block off the enemy DPS is already going to give you value. So right here, just placing a wall, let me see if I can draw this, just placing a wall behind the Orisa is already going to block off the, the enemy Hanzo just died here, but it's going to block off the enemy McCree and anyone else that's standing behind them. Right? So it's not about actually killing like the Orisa or walling her off or anything. It's just about making sure that the enemy DPS can't really do anything and that they have to walk like all the way around of the wall in order to actually do anything.
Orisa low.
But yeah, so did you see who killed you? You got shot by the McCree and the what's it called? The Zenyatta.
Orisa.
The Zenyatta discarded you. Yeah, but the Orisa doesn't deal, like, look at your HP, right? You're pretty much full HP. And Orisa can't just one-shot you from full HP.
Yeah, you just
right?
finished me.
Yeah, so the problem here is that the Zenyatta is on you and the McCree is on you. Those are the ones actually dealing the damage. The Orisa just kind of last hit you, right? And those are both people, the Zenyatta and the McCree, those are both people that you could have walled off. And again, it's not about like taking them entirely out of the fight, because they can always just either break the wall or they can walk around the wall. But any damage that they put into the wall is damage that isn't going into your team. And any time that they spend having to walk around the wall is time that they don't spend applying pressure. Okay?
So you mean like I should use the cover close to me for cover, or you mean like I need to put it on front?
So I'm
To
referring
try
to
to
your,
hold
so I'm
off.
referring to your E, your wall.
Yeah.
Ideally, when you saw the Baptiste ultimate, you already knew, okay, now your team wants to start applying pressure, right? Like your team wants to be able to peek. So when you walk around the corner, you already see that there are people behind the enemy front line. So you see the Hanzo for a second. Let me see if I can play this. So you see that there's the Hanzo, you see the McCree a little bit later, and the Zenyatta is towards the left. So already right from the get-go, you just want to wall behind the enemy tanks. Like, you don't want to put a wall in front of the enemy team, because then your Baptiste ultimate is just going to be wasted and nobody can do anything. But you want to split off the enemy team. so that the tanks are in the front,
Oh,
so you can still
like
shoot them.
just make it like you're 6v6 shooting at each other. You have both like let's say like this, you 1008 DPS per second. But if you like wall the enemy team by half, you're making that 500 HP damage per second by the enemy for a
Exactly.
short
Yeah,
amount of
yeah.
time.
See,
Yeah,
now,
you make him like
exactly. Now you get it.
handicap the enemy.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. So don't think of your wall just as a way to like get kills. Also think of it as a way to just annoy people, to just be disruptive, to just stop them from playing the game. Like the enemy team wants to shoot you, and you just put a wall in front of their face, and then they just stand there like idiots and they can't really do anything. But instead, you know,
Sorry, my fault.
your wall is just kind of sitting there and it's not really doing anything. And every single time you die while having cooldowns available, you need to ask yourself, why did I have that cooldown available?
Yeah, that's just what I mean. Just I notice every time when I watch myself, I die without even using my cryo. But I
Well,
find it really
okay,
bad
so,
for even if
so in this case, you didn't use your shift because you got kind of bursted. Like you got discorded and then you just got one shot. So that's just reaction time. Like sure, maybe when you saw the discord, you could have just spammed your shift to try and survive. But instead of focusing on pressing your shift faster, the main issue here is really just that you should have used your wall.
Sorry, my fault.
Okay, I can skip this.
They know, guys, they have Zenult. They are very close to it. Watch out.
Okay, you don't have ammo field. Okay, now
I
your
told
teammates
ya.
are just doing stuff. Okay. So this fight doesn't really matter too much. What you're doing here is actually kind of fine. I mean, you kind of misplayed it because you should have walled off to your left. So because you lost like the last two fights, it means that the enemy team is going to get ultimates first. And again, it doesn't matter what game mode you play, if you're attacking on here or if you're playing King of the Hill or whatever. If you're losing the first few fights, then you just need to expect that you're going to lose one fight because the enemy team is just going to have an ult advantage over you. And there's not really a whole lot that you can do. So your main priority here is, as soon as you know that the enemy team has committed ultimates, and in this case they use, what ultimates do they use? I think they use Hans Dragon, they use Trank.
Trance.
I told ya.
Trank, yeah.
Trank.
It's the only ultimates that they use.
Do you call it Trank?
Oh, I mean, it doesn't really matter whether you call it trans or whether you call it trank. Like, it's just because he says, like, tranquility when he uses it, so people started calling it trank. It doesn't really matter what you call it. It's just Zen ult, okay? So they started using ultimates, right? Obviously, it's kind of a problem because your team also used Nanoblade, which isn't really super great. Like, it would have been better to just save the ultimates and then use them next fight. But obviously, you can't control when your teammates use ultimates. And actually, this is really good for you. Because now you know that the enemy team doesn't have Zen ult, and you're going to have your Mei ultimate. So your main priority here is to just farm as much ultimate as you can during this fight, because you can't win it anyways. The only thing that you needed to do differently here, so it's very good that you push onto the Hanzo, not because you want to kill him. Like, killing the Hanzo here doesn't really make a difference. Like, your Orisa and your Ana are already dead, and those are pretty high value kills. So to be honest, like, winning this fight is kind of difficult. So your main priority is just getting ult charge. But when you push into him, while you're doing that, again, you have your wall. And you always want to use your wall just to disrupt people and to be annoying. And right here, you're actually like taking a lot of damage, not just from the front because of the Hanzo, but you're also getting shot at from the back. So let me see if I can pause this. So right here, you're taking a lot of damage from the back, which is obviously kind of annoying. And you don't have your ice block to begin with because you needed to use it for the Hanzo ultimate. And ideally, you want to get as much ult charge here as possible, because if we don't get a lot of ult charge, then the enemy Zen is just going to get closer and closer to his trance. He did just use it, so it's very unlikely that you're not going to get your ultimate by the time he gets trance, but still, it's something to just keep in mind. And yeah, you just took a lot of unnecessary damage. Okay, this is fine. See, so this wall right here, again, is completely fine, because it splits the enemy team. So you didn't know that the Reinhardt was behind you, because otherwise you would have turned around. But the enemy Reinhardt goes for the Shatter, but his team can't really follow up just because your wall is in front of it. and you don't really have to worry about the Orisa pull either, because the entire enemy team is walled off. So using your wall defensively like this is really important. You just need to do it more consistently.
Nice mortality field.
Okay.
Ryan splashed.
Why are you hesitating with your ultimate?
What do you mean? Like that I'm gonna use it here, you mean?
Yeah, why aren't you using it? Are you waiting out the immo field, or?
If a small question, by the way. Oh, you mean like why I wait for it? Because I thought you mean why you use it now. I thought
Oh,
did you have seen this video before or what?
No. I mean, why are you holding onto it? So you get it, right? So the enemy team pushed up anyways, right? Which means that you know. So using your ultimate here does two things. Your immortality field just broke, like right here. You don't have an immortality field anymore, right? So using your ultimate here does two things. For one, it freezes the enemy team so you can kill them. And two, it means that the enemy team can't follow up, right? So it's not just offensive, you can also use your ultimate kind of defensively. Because the enemy team has the immortality field and you don't, which means that the enemy team just, like, they can just continue peeking you and they can continue dealing damage. But because you just got your ultimate, you could use it. It forces out the Reinhardt because, you know, he can't really do anything with his shield. And even if your Genji gets picked, like with Mei ultimate, if the enemy team doesn't have Transcendence, you can still win the fight 5v6 if the enemy team is in a position like this. Like the enemy team is pushed up really far.
Yeah, actually, there was a pretty good chance that I see right now. If I like place the wall on the right side, that I split McCree and
exactly.
Ryan.
Yeah.
I throw the ult under him and then like.
Exactly.
I don't know why I didn't do this in this situation, but when I watch this foot back, I see this.
So, as Mei, it's always really important that you keep track of enemy support ultimates. Because if you know that they don't have support ultimates, then you don't have to hesitate with using your ultimate. Like, should I use it here? Are they going to die? Because if you ult the enemy team and they don't have any support ultimates, like, you're going to get kills out of it. Okay. But yeah, you see, look, like your Sigma uses his ultimate and bam, he just gets 2 kills because the enemy team, like, what are they supposed to do? They don't have any support ultimates. They don't really have a whole lot of healing. Okay, nice headshot. Okay, when you push up like this, you really need to prioritize the Orisa ultimate. Like, you're going here and you're focusing the Orisa. How much HP does she have, actually? Because it depends on how much HP she has. If you can kill her, then it's fine. But if she has HP, then it's better to go for her ult. Okay, yeah. So she's pretty much full HP. In this situation, instead of trying to freeze the Orisa, like, you don't know whether the Orisa has her cooldowns. Trying to freeze an Orisa, if you don't know whether she used Fortify, is super risky. Because you could just be wasting your time. And the same thing is with Moira if you don't know whether she has Fade, or a Reaper if you don't know whether he has his Wraith form. But you see that she has her ultimate right in front of you. And you always need to ask yourself the question, how are you going to, like, generate more value? By shooting the Orisa, who might end up just using her left click, or by destroying the supercharger and then denying the enemy team a lot of extra damage. Because this supercharger, the longer it stands, the more value it's going to get. And if the enemy team deals like 600 extra damage because of the supercharger, then destroying it is going to get you more value than, you know, dealing like 200 damage to an Orisa. Okay. Another thing as well, don't bother freezing people if you know that you can kill them. So Zenyatta, for example, like, he's kind of an easy kill to get. His hitbox is huge. He doesn't have a lot of HP. He doesn't really have mobility. He doesn't have defensive cooldowns. If you are confident that you can kill someone, then don't bother freezing them. Just right-click them. Okay?
Yeah.
And on top of that, so you have your wall again. You don't actually need to go for him, right? So the Orisa is still to your left, and there's the Baptiste. So what you can also do, I mean, okay, the Genji's in kind of a weird position, is you can try to either wall off the Zenyatta, or even wall off the Baptiste and the Zenyatta, and then clean up the Orisa first. and then let the wall drop, and then you can clean up the rest of the enemy team. But right now you're exposing yourself to all 3 of them, which obviously is just extra risk. But yeah, if you would have just shot the Zenyatta, he would have already been dead. Like, if you can kill someone, don't freeze them. It's not really worth it. The only time you freeze someone is if you can't kill them without. So for example, Reinhardt is a good example of someone where freezing is really, really useful. Because he drops his shield, and then that can actually lead to a kill that you otherwise wouldn't get.
I'm skilled.
Okay, good
Right
ice
side.
block. Okay, see, so again, this is just something where you need to react to it quicker. So you're getting spammed from the left side, so you just need to put down your wall quickly. That, and you need to be very careful about playing aggressive to begin with after you use your ice block. So you push up, you need to use your
I'm
ice
skilled.
block,
Right side.
and you actually cancel it. So you're not healed up. So you have 100 HP, and you don't have your ice block. Do you think it's a good idea to play aggressive?
Not really.
Not really, right? You already have your ultimate, which means like you're not even getting any ult charge out of this. You're just kind of dying for no reason. Like, it doesn't really do anything. So after you used your ice block, just wall yourself off so the enemy team can't shoot you, and then just run back to your team to get healed up.
The Pendrix guy.
But yeah, just look at how long you've had your ultimate already. Like, every single second that you have your ultimate, you could be farming up a second one. So if you hold onto your ultimates too long, then you just don't use them as often. Okay, see, so this is an example of a really, really good wall. Just to split off the enemy front line. Although, again, ideally you want to wait a little bit longer until the enemy shields are down, like especially the Reinhardt shield. But okay, the enemy team uses trance, so this is really good because now you know that the enemy team is just using like 1 billion ultimates. So now you can just regroup, and then in this next fight, because they just used all of those ultimates, you just want to wall them off, use your ultimate, and play super, super aggressive. Like, you can't take this next fight slow. Okay, this is fine, they're just kind of trying to spawn camp.
And they don't have trance also.
Okay, ult. Go! Okay, again, so like a little bit slow. When the enemy team is trying to spawn camp you, like, you always need to look for when the enemy team is overextending and they're playing really, really close. So there's the Hanzo, there's the McCree, there's the Reinhardt. You can just plop a wall behind them. You're fighting in front of your spawn anyways, which means that your teammates are going to be with you and you can ult them right now. But again, the longer you wait, the more time you give the enemy team to get a pick. But yeah, the Reinhardt dies, which is good.
Get Makri.
You get the McCree. Yeah, the ultimate is fine, it's just, again, way too late. Okay. Press tab. How many ultimates did you use there? I think you only used your ultimate and bup.
Yeah, only Bob and me,
Yeah, you're in bup, okay. That's fine. I was worried that your Genji also used Blade, but he doesn't have it. Okay, so you have Nano Blade for the next one. You have Orisa as well, that's good. You're pushing up a lot, which is actually fine, because you can get some early ult charge. Just be careful.
Yeah, I thought just they were all on the right side because that's the spawn.
That wall is
And then,
too...
like-
This was... Okay. You need to wall early here. Because if you wall late, like you do here, like they don't care about the wall, they just walk past it. And you have 40 HP. So pushing up to farm up your ultimate while your team is pushing card is 100% the correct play. Like, that was good. But you need to wall the enemy team off properly so that you can actually make it to safety. Because here you're kind of... Like, you managed to make it out alive, but that's just unnecessary risk.
Give me guys help.
I can see what payload is and what players have, so that's enough.
Yeah, that's all you need to see. Okay, that's good. This is just cleanup.
I'm already playing like on like 50 render skill.
Okay. So this is another thing that you really don't want to bother with. Like, your job, if you're playing someone like Sigma or Hanzo, then dealing with people who are taking off angles like this is your responsibility. If you're playing Mei, then dealing with this Hanzo really isn't something that you should do. Because, like, sure, you can snipe him, but at this distance, if he has good movement, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to hit him. So you're just going to waste, like, a lot of time. And you have
Also,
your Mei wall up available. Yeah?
Afara, by the way,
Farah?
because like I'm capable of taking out Faras.
Again, it's not about like, I'm not saying that your aim is bad or that you
Oh, no,
can't
not that.
do those things. It's just about you always want to do whatever is most consistent and whatever is easiest to do. So in this situation, for example, if you just look at the kill feed, your Genji died to the Orisa on the right. And you have your Mei wall available. If you're playing Mei, whenever one of your teammates dies while you have your wall up, you need to ask yourself, like, could I have split the enemy team? Could I have walled them off? So in this case, if you see that your team is trying to focus on the Hanzo, then you want to use your wall to wall off the rest of the enemy team. So it's like a 4v1 or a 5v1, and you don't have to worry about whatever is going on the right side. But now your team is getting kind of sandwiched. Like, you guys are standing here, and you're getting shot at from this direction, and you're getting shot at from this direction. So you just want to use your wall to deal with either one of these angles. But again, you don't use the wall, which is unfortunate. Okay, yeah, so that wall is really good. It just blocks off the enemy support, so the Orisa can't really get any healing. But again, it's just a little too late. That's fine. Again, you have your wall, right? You have your wall, you want to use it as soon as you can. Right here, this is the moment where you should already start thinking about how you want to use your wall. So you know that the enemy team is coming out of the right side, you have your wall in 2 seconds, so you already in your head want to go, okay, as soon as I get my wall, I just want to try to block them off. And in this case, the enemy Baptiste even uses his ultimate. You just want to plop down your wall like this, so the Baptiste and his ultimate are useless, which also cuts them off from any healing. So as soon as the trank is over, they're going to be exposed.
And they're also needed anyways. Also.
So yeah, again, that fight in general just took way too long. You shouldn't have lost the Genji that early to the Orisa. Okay, you have 5 ults,
Okay.
so
They don't have trends.
they
And
don't
I have my
trance. Yeah, so this should be kind of free, as long as you don't just sit around and do nothing. Come on, go and press W. Fast, 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 your team is with you. Stop sitting around. Okay, I guess that works. See, again, use your wall early. There's no reason for you to hold onto your wall. You want to split the enemy team. The first thing you want to do in these fights is use your wall. Your Genji is discorded and he's getting wrecked by a McCree, when you could have just plopped down a wall right between the enemy team. And again, do you see, like, throughout this entire fight, you have your Mei wall available, you use it for nothing until there. See, and that's good. Like, the McCree just can't do anything, you just put a wall in front of him. It's just important that, you know, ideally you do that a little bit earlier before he gets, like, 5 billion kills. Okay, but you still have your ultimate. The Zen shouldn't have his trank by now. If you engage fast here, then you can still catch them before they get trank. Okay, that's a good wall. See, so those are like just like normal aggressive walls when an enemy is overextended so you can kill them. But again, especially in high level games, you're not going to get opportunities like that very often. So you need to use your walls more to kind of split and disrupt and to just alleviate pressure from your teammates. Okay, that's good. Just look where your teammates are. Okay, good.
That was a
Come on,
perfect moment,
ult.
actually.
Yeah, right. So again, you just use it like it's still a good ultimate, but just a little delayed. Like you can't be hesitant. Like you need to be super, super decisive.
But do I need to not wait out the Orisa gold? Because that's what I do as a Mayo. What the plan is in my hand, I see this.
Normally,
They get
yes.
grouped. They are grouped.
Mm-hmm.
The Orisa is gold.
Mm-hmm.
So
Normally,
that's
yes.
actually the perfect
Normally,
moment.
yes, but there are 2 reasons why you don't need to wait. Reason number 1 is the Orisa uses her pull, which means that you don't really care about the Orisa. You want to freeze the people who are in the pull. Like if you throw your ultimate down when enemies are getting pulled, they're going to get frozen. That's reason number 1. Reason number 2 is the Orisa is kind of overextended. Like, if you put down your Mei ultimate here, even if she has gold, she can't really get out of your ultimate unless she runs into your team. So she's going to get frozen anyways. And reason number 3, you still have your Mei wall. So you can use your Mei wall to split off right here, so the Orisa has no way of getting back. So ideally the play should be, you see the Orisa pull, you just want to plop down your wall behind, so that the enemy team is split, so that the people who are over here can't do anything. And then you plop down your ultimate here, and then you start cleaning up. But again, the problem is you wait a little bit too long. Ideally, you could have used it faster, because now you already gave them time to go back, and you didn't use your wall. Again, ideally, your wall should be right here, which means that you cut off the enemy escape, and you also prevent the rest of their team to support them.
Push, they have no tank.
Okay, so you see your Genji just dies to the Zenyatta. When the Zenyatta, if you go back,
He could be
like,
in my.
he
in my
should be
ult.
dead. Like, this Zenyatta should not be alive, but because you hesitated, because you forgot to use your wall, the Zenyatta lived, and the Zenyatta ended up killing your Genji. And that's kind of a problem, because you're fighting right in front of the enemy spawn, so losing someone here is really, really bad. And then you also lose your Ana, and again, it's just really unnecessary.
I don't
Like,
think
this
they
fight
get
could
you
have been
back.
super, super, super clean. Okay, and again here, this is another example where, like, in this situation, don't bother freezing people. Like, just use right click, because you can kill, like, they're going to die before you can freeze them anyways. And the problem is, if you freeze, then they're going to stay alive for longer, and the longer they stay alive, the higher the chance that they might kill someone and take someone with them. Which again, because you're fighting in front of the enemy spawn, losing even a single person here is really, really bad.
Oh, I thought.
Although in that case, it didn't make a huge difference.
Or you mean on Hanzo?
Okay, again, this is fine. You're just spamming shields.
Can you get the rank? Yeah, you get
Okay, again, that wall is fine. Again, the wall is just a little bit too early. Like, it's a good wall because you split off the Reinhardt, but he still has his full shield. So there's not really a whole lot that your teammates can do.
the rank. Yeah,
And you were still very far away from the Rein. So the only time you want to go for an early wall on a Reinhardt like this is if you know that you can actually get past his shield and freeze him.
you get the rank.
Okay. Your Genji's back as well, which is good. Use your wall. Use your wall! Please! Oh god. Too late. What was that wall? What is it supposed to do? Okay, so again, during team fights, keep an eye on your cooldown. When it's like 3 or 2 seconds remaining, start thinking about how you want to use it. Right, so they waste their Baptiste Immo field, that doesn't do anything. They used Baptiste ultimate. There's a Zenyatta, there's someone over here, I don't know who it is. Just plop down your wall, like right in the Baptiste window, and your single ability completely cancels Baptiste's ultimate. Like, the enemy team can't do anything if your wall just cuts through his ult. Like, it's going to be completely useless. So you could have gotten value out of that. But instead of doing that, you just, like, your team just continues taking damage and they lose their shields in like 2 seconds, and it's just unnecessary risk. Okay. Yeah, so that's another example. If the enemy team uses Trank or Trance or whatever you want to call it, that's another situation where shooting people doesn't really make a lot of sense, and you should just go for the freeze because you can't kill them. But every single time you can kill someone, just go for the right click. Okay, that's good. Okay. Okay. So you can't hear the sound here through the screen share, but you heard the McCree behind you.
You can, by the way, enable it. If you like.
I can,
If you-
but then I need to share like the entire window, and I can't do that because there's some stuff that like you can't see, like it's private stuff, just from like other coaches and stuff. So I have to do it like this. But anyways, there is a McCree behind you. You just didn't react to him. Like, you're getting kind of confused and a little bit distracted with the Hammond. Like, a Hammond is very low priority in these overtime stalls because he can't actually kill anyone. Your main priority here needs to be to deal with the threats. And the main threats are the Hanzo to the right side or the McCree who's behind you. And what you want to do is ideally you wall off one of them and then you deal with the other. So you can wall off this Hanzo and then you can turn around and deal with the McCree, or you can wall off the McCree and then you can deal with the Hanzo. But you don't use your wall and you waste a lot of time chasing after the Hammond. And this just doesn't do anything. Like, he's not the one killing your team. The Hanzo and the McCree are the ones killing your team. There, do you see how much time you waste shooting him when he's not even doing anything? And look what the Hanzo does. He goes for the squishies. Did you hear me?
Oh yeah, now I can hear you again.
Okay, so just to repeat. So during this fight, you went for the Hammond, who isn't really a threat to your team anyways. Ideally, what you should have done is you need to recognize, okay, the Hanzo and the McCree behind me, those are the characters that can actually kill my teammates. And then you wall off one of them, and then you kill the other. But instead what you do during this fight is you just chase after the Hammond. And the Hammond isn't going to kill anyone. The McCree is killing people, the Hanzo is killing people. But this Hammond, like, he's only trying to waste your time. And look how you tunnel vision on him. Look how much time you waste on him while the Hanzo kills the rest of your team. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a real problem actually at more games.
Going for squishies is very good. Okay, you can clutch it out with your ultimate maybe, maybe not. That was definitely winnable.